Hi, I'm Ceylan Rowe. I'm running for state rep here in the 12th Worcester District. That includes Berlin, Boylston, Clinton, Lancaster, Northborough, and Sterling. Um, and I just wanted to take a few minutes and have an informal conversation for you to get to know more about me. And hear my story and why I'm running for office. So before we begin, I do want to take a moment to just see how everybody's doing. How are your families? I have some friends who have lost loved ones because of Corona. So please accept my sincere condolences for anyone who's lost a loved one. Thank you to everyone on the front lines. Thank you to our healthcare professionals, our doctors, our nurses, those that work at the hospitals, the custodial staff. Thank you to all the essential retail workers, those at the grocery stores, our farmers. Really thank you, and I hope everyone stays safe. On my website, I continue to update have resources for community members on COVID-19. So please, you have access to that at any time, and I'm posting things as I hear them and resources. So I hope you will continue to follow that. Follow me on social media. So let's dive in. I'm Ceylan. My name is unique. It is pronounced Jaylon, but spelled Ceylan. It is a unique name, and it's 100% my parents' fault, but it's pronounced Ceylan. So I live in Northborough with my husband and two children. I have a 10-year-old who's in 4th grade, and I have a 12-year-old who's in 6th grade. They're both in the public school system. I met my husband at the first day of orientation at Northeastern, the very first day. So prior to launching my campaign, I have been an entrepreneur. I had a socially responsible business, an e-commerce business that donated a percentage to charities. I did that for almost 4 years. I'm finishing up my MBA at Babson. I am typically the little lady in class. I'm usually the oldest one in my class, which is fine. But I'm going to dive more into why I think it's important for us, for our society to really invest in our community colleges and more training for people at different ages. I have been a commissioner for the Metro-West Commission on the Status of Women, and I see some of my fellow commissioners are here. Hello, Heather. Hello, Jean. And Lindsay's here. So being a commissioner, I've had the opportunity and pleasure really to see how the State House works, meet with different legislators. We have 26 towns. We have 2 cities. And it was really eye-opening to me see what issues are not the legislation that isn't being passed. So in Massachusetts, for example, people view it as super progressive, that women have it great and everything's fine. But our reality is that child marriage is still legal. We can't even pass the Healthy Youth Act, which would provide comprehensive sex education and healthy relationship classes for our children in the public school system. So we recently did an event called Breaking the Silence of Shame, where we had wonderful speakers. We had Representative Jack Lewis, who has endorsed me, which I am forever grateful to him for. He's been an advocate for the Healthy Youth Act and women's issues. And it was a wonderful opportunity really for us to talk about the things that affect women. And when they affect women, they ultimately also can affect families. And so I've been a commissioner. Prior to that, I really have spent my entire life trying to help people. I was recently asked what motivates me, and my answer is having a positive impact in my community and in my world. I have been trying to create positive change since I was a little girl. In high school, I would notice that, well, let me step back. In high school, my family and I were on vacation overseas in Turkey, and we were in an earthquake that killed 20,000 people. So after surviving it, I said I really wanted to dedicate my life to helping people in some sort of capacity. And so it was my senior year in high school, and I noticed that boys were groping girls in the hallways, and I got infuriated about it. And so I wanted an outlet, and I created a young women's club. And it was that year that I found out that 1 out of 4 women in the United States were or will be in an abusive relationship. And I was shocked. I'm like, how can this happen here in the United States? I thought this only happens elsewhere. People often think that human trafficking is elsewhere, and actually, we had incidents here in Northborough. These issues are happening here in our home, in our towns, in our communities. And so I got really angry. And so I wanted to do something. I'm not somebody who could sit on the sidelines and do nothing. So on International Women's Day, I hosted a conference talking about domestic violence against young girls for the entire school. And then a few months later, I was headed by way to orientation to Northeastern with my parents. I grew up in Connecticut. I was born in Chicago. And so we had a 2-hour drive, and I kept thinking, what do I want to do? I want to travel. I don't want to settle down. This was about like 8 o'clock in the morning. And by 8 p.m., I met my husband, and that completely changed my life for the better. So I studied political science and international affairs. Governor Dukakis was my advisor, and he was my professor at Northeastern. And even back then, he loved talking about trains and transportation. And he said something that didn't resonate with me until much later on. He said, if you really want to change the world, you should start with your community first. And I didn't get it until now. And so I had a co-op with the Office for Refugees and Immigrants. I ended up getting my first job there, which was awesome. It was a great experience. But I did receive pay. I received thousands of dollars less than the gentleman who had it before me. And we were around the same age. It was the same job duties. And I didn't feel empowered to speak up. I didn't think that I had the right to speak up. And so I just let it slide. And it internally bothered me for years. And then my husband and I got married. I had my son, and seeing that there wasn't a career ladder, seeing that childcare is super expensive. It was 12 years ago. It still continues to be super expensive. We went from 2 incomes to 1. So I was home. And then 2 years later, I had my daughter. And I really wanted to do more. I wanted, just like a lot of stay-at-home parents, they need to financially go back to work, and they want to. And so I started submitting my resume and going on job interviews. And when you have a gap in your years of working, whether it's because you were home or whether you were laid off or whether it's for health problems, there's always a question of, well, what have you been doing? And I was getting this a lot. And then I was talking to other friends of mine who were going through the exact same thing, who were being asked the same questions. And I got frustrated. Once I was offered a job, it would not cover childcare again. And so it didn't make sense. So I started a business from home so I could generate some income, do something that I care passionately about, and be able to watch my children. It's called Mommy's Business BFF, helping moms and stay-at-home parents go back, re-enter the workforce, helping them with their resume. And this was when Facebook came out, so helping with marketing and so forth. I did that for a few years. And then in 2016, I launched Trendy Napkin, which is my socially responsible business. And that's when I became a commissioner. And that's really where my life changed for the positive, because I absolutely love being part of the Metro West Commission on the Status of Women. So did you know in Massachusetts that you could use campaign funds to rent a tux, but you can't use it for childcare? And so that actually prevents so many parents and mothers from parents with young children from running for office. And there's these issues that just don't make sense to me. And why can't we pass this legislation? So I launched my campaign in November of 12. It was my 38th birthday. Um, I launched it because I saw that there was um, a huge gap in our community. I was frustrated that our legislator was not responsive. I did not see him at events. I did not see him attending events in all the communities. And then I thought maybe it was just me, but then I was listening to other people, and they were too were frustrated. They were frustrated that they weren't getting responses, emails back from his office, or he wasn't a full-time legislator. And I think people deserve a full-time legislator. So I pledged to be a full-time legislator. You deserve somebody who's fighting for your issues full-time, who cares about your issues, who's passionate about your issues. I you know, I have lived in different places. We lived in Grafton for many years. So I've been in the Central Mass area for 13 years. And I grew up in Brantford, Connecticut. And I think it's really important to have a legislator, a public servant who really has different life experiences, who's lived in different places and could say, look, I see in this community, they're doing something really great. I really want to bring it back here. So for example, the town that I grew up in last summer, they hosted a mental health day on their town green, and I think this is a fantastic idea. So they had vendors, service providers, they had speakers, they had music, and really to stop the shame of people who are dealing with mental health problems and provide resources, not just for them, but for their families. So it's important to have someone fighting for your issues, fighting for you, who's passionate about it, and that's what I want to do. So I have signed the transparency pledge. I think you deserve to know how your legislator, your elected officials vote in their committees. Let's see. Well, let me look at the comments. Any questions? Thank you, everyone, for your encouragement. So for the past 5.5 months, since November, I have a full-time campaign manager, Betsy. Hello, Betsy. I think she's watching. I have a field director, Rihanna. Hello, Rihanna. And I have a phenomenal group of advisors and volunteers and friends and family. And I am eternally grateful to everyone who has encouraged me. We've hosted meet and greets in the towns. We thank you to In-House Coffee in Northborough for having us. Thank you to Coffee Lands in Clinton for having us. Thank you to Davidian Farms for the delicious donuts and for having us. And so our goal was to go to many other places and get to hear your concerns. Some of the issues that people have been bringing up to me when I do meet with them, the number one issue is environment. So no matter the age group, no matter which town, people are deeply concerned about climate change. I recently read an article that talked about how companies are trying to be more environmentally friendly and conscious about it, and there's many reasons why, but one of the reasons was that their own children were coming home and holding them accountable. And I have to say that's true with my own children. My daughter in particular, the fourth grader, will come home and just panic about the earth and what can we do and how can we help. And so that is definitely an issue that you care about, I care about. We have solar panels right over there up on our roof. I would love for it to be more accessible for people so that anyone who is interested can have it. My husband and I drive electric cars, so this is something that we are passionate about. Education. Let's talk about education. So in Massachusetts, every town is not guaranteed free full day kindergarten. So in Northborough, for example, we don't have that. It is essential that all the children have equal access to education, free full day kindergarten, for their own benefit and to really help the teachers out too. And that's something that I'm a huge advocate for. I would love for us to build more innovative pipelines for our children. I have had the pleasure of speaking with lots of teachers. By the way, I miss you terribly, teachers. The whole homeschooling thing, wow. So I hope you're doing well. Please stay well. And I miss you terribly to my children's teachers. But so, for example, I absolutely think we need more STEM programs in our schools, and here's why. My husband's a computer engineer. The job that he works at, they can't hire enough computer engineers. There's just too many available. But there's children who are graduating college who can't find, are having a hard time finding jobs. And so how can we help these kids? How can we provide them with better tools, better skill sets, not just at the high school level, but in middle school and even in elementary school? My daughter has always enjoyed her brother's toys more than her own toys. And so it's about giving these children access to information, access to here's coding. How is this something that you want to pursue later on in life? Scientists, we need more scientists. Just giving them access to the information is really important to do that in our public school system. Another thing that I would really love to see, and being a huge advocate for, is entrepreneurship programs in our schools. It's not just about starting a business. It's about how to go from an idea to reality. I would argue that my kids' generation is by far one of the most entrepreneurial generations ever. And here's a little story. I picked her up from school one day, and she said, "Mom, I want to start a cupcake business." I said, "Great." I thought she was referring to baking cupcakes at home and then having like a little stand, like a little lemonade stand. No, she wanted to actually open up a storefront. And I'm an entrepreneur, so I said, okay, let's see how much does a cupcake business in Massachusetts cost? See if anybody's selling. So she goes online and she comes to me and starts crying. And she says, I said, well, what's wrong? She said, it's $85,000. How am I going to get $85,000? I said, you are such a smart girl. I have no doubt you will figure out a way to make $85,000 to get your dreams, to have your dreams come true. About 10 minutes later, she comes back and says, I know how I'm going to make $85,000. I said, how are you going to make $85,000? She starts wiggling her tooth and says, the tooth fairy will give me $85,000. I said, the tooth fairy is not giving you $85,000. So the next day she goes to her whole class and says, who wants to be my business partner? Who has $85,000? She was in first grade. There was a first grader doing this. She's not the only one. I have a friend whose son has diabetes. He wants to go to a diabetes camp. It's super expensive. And so he started knitting his own hats in order to afford to be able to go to this summer camp. These children are eager for these tools, and I would love for our education system to have the leeway to be able to do these things. I want our children growing up and succeeding. I want you to in your own lives to succeed in all that you want to do. I think financial literacy is talked about, but people typically reference checking accounts and savings accounts. But I think we really need to focus on accounting and investment literacy, accounting literacy. And here's why. There's many children who want to be athletes, which is great. Go for it. Whatever your heart desires, I wish that for you. And so they want to be athletes, but I heard that 5 years after somebody retires from the NFL, that 85% of the NFL players actually go bankrupt. So the question is, what can we be doing more, even if you don't want to be an athlete, even if you want to start your own business, even in your own lives, understanding how the financial market works, understanding accounting we need a strong foundation when children are graduating. So I'm going to take a break right now. It's 12:19. Any questions? Thank you so much for the wonderful comments. I'm really grateful to everyone's support, to all my friends' support, my family's support. Thank you very much. So let's also, I just want to, before we end, talk about small businesses. So in Massachusetts, we have the highest LLC fees. You're going to hear me talk about this because I feel very passionate about this. It's $500. $500 if you're a large company is not a big deal. Go for it. You want to pay the $500, you have the $500. Thank you for paying that to our state. However, if you are a sole entrepreneur, if you are someone who just, you and your friend or want to start a soap business or knit hats or whatever, you too have to pay that $500. I can't tell you how many women are not registering their business because they can't afford to. That's just not okay. It's really important that people who want to start a business have an LLC to protect their assets, to protect themselves, and register with the state. That's important. But we need to make this affordable and accessible to women, to minorities, to people who just want to do a startup. So is there anything else? So what has the campaign been up to in the past 5.5 months? We hosted meet and greets. We've visited senior centers. We have done door knocking. I mean, what's really great about this campaign is my logo is Community Together. Community together. And why I say that is because I don't want to leave any community member behind. I want everybody to join this campaign, from my friends who've never gotten political before, to the immigrant community, to children. I mean, my children and their friends have gone door knocking and they're helping with the campaign. And I want them to see how this is done so then they could then want to run for office one day. I want you to join this campaign so that you could see how it's done and have the courage to run for office yourself. It's interesting because I'm actually surprised that more moms aren't running for office because this is what we do. I mean, just caring about our community, wanting to create the change. And the best part is we have volunteers. I mean, however many kids you have, that's the guaranteed number of volunteers, the minimum number of volunteers you have, which is really helpful. So I really strongly encourage you to run for office. And so here's a comment. By the way, Lisa, thank you very much for helping me with my website. I greatly appreciate all her help. Lisa, can you talk about some places to find resources for COVID? Yes, so my website has a whole bunch of resources. Let me pull it up right now, if you don't mind. Let me read off some phone numbers that I think are super important, particularly now with people. There's information about unemployment insurance. Let's see. There's loan programs available. There's also, if you are struggling with your mental health, it is a difficult time right now. You are not alone. The world is very lucky to have you in it. So please reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Line, which is 1-800-273-TALK. There's also educational resources on my website. Thank you to everyone at the food pantries. I know the Northborough Food Pantry is still stocked in providing meals. I will also post more of which food pantries are open. Discover Clinton this morning actually was asking for who has a business so they could have a business directory for the small businesses who are really suffering right now. Not suffering, the directory is to showcase the businesses there, but now is also the time where we if you are able to maybe give gift cards or order takeout for our local restaurants who usually, these restaurants and businesses are people's dreams, and so it would be great to continue to support them. Thank you, Anne, for your lovely comment. Hi, Shannon. Let's see, Vasavi, what can kids do to help the community? Definitely, please, please, please get your kids involved, civically engaged. So I was a Girl Scout leader for my daughter's troop a few years ago, and I actually, my co-leader was Melissa, who I love dearly. We actually had the girls write a letter to Senator Chandler. So in Massachusetts, um, uh, recess in elementary school is not guaranteed. And so this bill, it has not passed. This bill would guarantee 20 minutes of recess to children in public schools, elementary schools. It did not pass. Yeah, I don't know why. So we actually had the girls talk about why recess is really important, and then we actually had them meet Senator Chandler. And I really want our children to be civically engaged. There's a bill right now called the Empower Act, and so if passed, it would allow municipals to have 16 and 17-year-olds be able to vote in their municipal elections, which I think is a fantastic idea. I bring my kids, whenever I vote, I bring them with me because I want them to see that this is normal. I want them to be politically engaged and ask questions and think that voting, of course you vote, is normal and should be done. Okay, let's see. We have a few minutes left. Let's see. Are there other ways to engage our children? Civically, and the school committee meetings, actually, when my son was in 5th grade, I went to a social studies class, and I informed them about the school committee. They didn't know about the school committee. I'm like, you could write letters to them. You could actually go and visit them. The 5th graders' number 1 complaint was they wanted more food at lunchtime. So even bringing your kids to a school committee meeting or having them watch it, now watching it. But it's really important for them to see how can they create positive change in their community. City. Are there any other questions? Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time out of your day to be with me and to hear my story. Is there anything I'm forgetting? I hope that you have a better have a better understanding where I'm coming from, my story. I'm passionate about helping people. I've always been passionate about helping people. I will continue to be passionate about helping people. Please go to rowforrep.com to find out more about me and my story, ROWEFORREP.com. Please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Row for Rep. If you're interested in getting in volunteering, we could use your help. Definitely email me at my first name, Ceylan, at rowforrep.com. No, Ceylan at rowforrep. Yes, Ceylan at rowforrep.com. Or you're welcome to call me. If you're actually passionate about a particular issue, please call me. Let's talk about it. I'd love to learn what issues are near and dear to you, so please email me. Let's see. I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yes. So email me, call me at 508-2020777, and I'd be happy to chat with you and learn about the issues that you care about. Should I do this again? Is this something that would be helpful? Let me know. But thank you again to everyone for taking time out of your day to be with me. And thank you for all your support. Thank you to my volunteers, Betsy, to Lisa and Mitch, and just, I know I'm forgetting people. I'm so sorry. Piper, thank you so much to everyone. Rihanna, all my friends, thank you for all your support, and my family for all your support. And I hope you'll join my campaign, and I hope you'll vote for me. There's a primary on September 1st and a general election in November. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.